Hello and welcome to the Palmore Institute video lesson series. My name is Lowell, and in this video we'll be looking at the senior reading course. So let's begin. In today's video lesson we will be looking at chapter 5, Living to 100 and Beyond. And as for our learning goals, our learning goal for this lesson is to learn about ways to add to your life expectancy, which begs the question, what do we mean by life expectancy? Well, life expectancy is the average number of years that a person or animal can expect to live. And before we read, let's look at a few questions to prepare us for the reading passage. Our first question, what do you think the average life expectancy is for people in your country? Well, if you live in Japan, the average life expectancy for Japanese citizens is 85.03 years when you factor in both sexes. Number two, do you think the average life expectancy in your country is the same for both men and women? In Japan, life expectancy is 88.09 years for women and 81.91 years for men. So in many countries, there is a bit of a difference in the number of years between when men and women are expected to die on average. Next, our third question, what are some possible factors that might help explain why women live longer than men? Well, there are a variety of factors to explain why this tends to occur in many countries. First of all, men dying sooner than women makes sense biologically, as 105 males are born for every 100 females, roughly. And this would assure that there are about the same number of men and women at reproductive ages. Also, the diversity in worldwide longevity alone indicates that difference in mortality between the sexes is not purely biological, and that there are other intervening social factors. There are some other reasons besides biology. Okay, women most probably have a biological advantage that allows them to live longer, but in the past and in several areas around the world at the present, the status and life conditions of women have nullified this benefit. And this might occur especially in countries that don't have very good health care or have difficult environments for people to live in. Nevertheless, given the general progress in female life conditions, women have not only regained their biological advantage, but have gone much beyond it because they tend to engage in fewer behaviors that are bad for their health than men do, and because they benefit from current advances in healthcare and living conditions. So these bad behaviors could be smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, etc. Question 4, in what countries do you think people have the longest life expectancy and the shortest? Well, the top 3 countries with the longest life expectancy are Hong Kong at 85.29 years, Japan at 85.03 years, and Macau at 84.68 years. The 3 countries at the bottom of the list with the shortest life expectancies are the Central African Republic at 54.36 years, Chad at 55.17 years, and Lesotho at 55.65 years. Now, in the reading passage, I want to provide a little background information for a character or individual who's mentioned. If you take a look at the picture on the right, who is that man? Well, he's Juan Ponce de Leon. Juan Ponce de Leon was a Spanish explorer and conquistador born in Santorvaz de Campos, Valladolid, Spain. and he lived from 1474 to 1521. He was of noble birth and served in the Spanish military from a young age. And he first came to the Americas with Christopher Columbus's second expedition in 1493, and later became the first governor of Puerto Rico in 1509. And in 1513, he led the first known European expedition to Florida. A little more background information. According to the reading passage, it is suggested that Juan Ponce de Leon may have been searching for the Fountain of Youth on his trip to Florida. And you might be asking, what is the Fountain of Youth? Well, the Fountain of Youth is a mythical spring or place where water comes up naturally from the ground. And the waters of this spring are said to restore the youth of anyone who drinks it or bathes in it. So essentially, if you drink water from the Fountain of Youth or take a bath in it, it will make you younger. However, many historians today doubt that Juan Ponce de Leon was in search for this mythical Fountain of Youth. There's no direct historical evidence from his records that he was searching for the mythical Fountain of Youth. So let's move on to some vocabulary for our next activity. I'll have you match some vocabulary with some definitions. You can pause the video and match vocabulary items 1 through 5 with the definitions A, B, C, D, and E. And let's take a look at some more vocabulary. You can do the same with that as well. Please match 6 through 10 with F, G, H, I, J. You can pause the video. Okay, let's review your answers. For number 1, a legend. It's a noun, an old, well-known story, often about brave people or magical events. So usually they're not true. Number 2, to invest in something, to put money, effort, time, etc. into something to make a profit or get an advantage. Number 3, to end up in some place, to arrive somewhere unintentionally or accidentally. Number 4, ancestors, members of someone's family who lived long ago. Could be your great-grandparents or your great-great-great-great-grandparents, for example. Number 5, to take years off your life. This verb phrase means to do something that will make your life shorter or make you die sooner. For example, smoking cigarettes will take years off your life. As for number 6, to make a living. This verb phrase means to earn the money one needs to pay for housing or food, etc. Number 7, to depend on someone or something. It's a verb phrase meaning to be determined or decided by someone or something. And genes. Genes are parts of a cell that are passed down from a parent to a child that controls particular characteristics. Basically DNA. And the verb phrase to eat right means to eat healthy food. And number 10, to make a difference. It's a verb phrase meaning to have an effect on a situation. Okay, let's take a look at our reading passage for this lesson. You may want to turn on the captions if you haven't done so already. Alternatively, you could use this as a listening task and replay it with captions to check your listening comprehension. As you listen to the following reading passage, try to identify the answer to the following question. Our question is, what can you do to increase your life expectancy? So, I'll read the passage. You can take notes. We'll follow along with the captions. Living to 100 and beyond. Would you like to live to 100? Many people would. Some have dreamed of living even longer, perhaps forever. We know this has long been a popular idea because for hundreds of years, many cultures have had legends about ways to avoid growing old. In Europe, in the 1400s, the people heard one such legend about a wonderful spring somewhere in Eastern Asia. Drinking the water from this spring was supposed to make a person young again. It's likely that this story reached the Spanish explorer, Juan Ponce de Leon, and it may have been on his mind when he traveled to the Americas in the 1490s. After arriving in Puerto Rico, Ponce de Leon heard about an island with a similar spring, and he decided to go look for it. He invested in 3 ships, and in 1513, he went searching for the island. However, he ended up in Florida, never finding the island or the spring, which people now call the Fountain of Youth. When Ponce de Leon died 8 years later, he was 61 years old, which may not seem very old, but living to 61 was actually a very long life for a man of his times and his lifestyle. It used to be generally agreed that the human body could not possibly last more than 120 years. No scientist today believes 120 to be the limit because people have already lived beyond that age. A woman in France, Jean Louise Calment, made it to 122 years and 164 days. Today, people in many parts of the world are living longer lives than their ancestors did, partly because of better public health services and safer drinking water. Greater understanding of how to treat heart problems has made a great difference in life expectancy as well. Scientists are learning more all the time about how we can live longer, healthier lives, and maybe someday they'll even learn how to stop the aging process completely. While you're waiting for that day to come, there are things that you can do to increase your life expectancy. Do you think you can follow these 3 rules? Rule number 1, treat your body well. Your everyday lifestyle influences how long you will live. For example, smoking can take years off your life, and even if it doesn't make you sick, it will affect your skin and make you look older. So don't smoke. Get enough sleep, lead an active life, and be sure to eat right. In other words, eat foods that are good for you and don't eat too much. Rule number 2, don't take risks. Forget about motorcycles and wear your seatbelt when you travel by car. Also try to choose a nice, safe way to make a living. If you can avoid it, don't do a dangerous job like going to sea and working on a fishing boat. Rule number 3, choose your parents carefully. Perhaps you're asking, how could anybody follow this one? Well, that's a good question. However, about 70% of your life expectancy depends on your genes, and you get some genes from your parents. Genes control not only your hair and eye color, but much, much more. If people in your family usually live long lives, then chances are good that you will too. It also helps to be born in Australia or Japan, and it helps to be born female. The average Australian or Japanese man can expect to see age 80, while a sister can expect to reach 85. Japan is home to more than 61,000 people who have made it to 100, and more than 87% of them are women. Okay, so let's think about that question. What can you do to increase your life expectancy? You can pause the video, refresh yourself with your notes, refresh your memory. All right, let's take a look at the answer. The reading advises following 3 rules: treating your body well, avoiding risks, and choosing your parents carefully. And notes that it helps to be born in Australia or Japan and to be born female. All right, so the homework for today's lesson, if you have the textbook and haven't read it yet, please read and review pages 56 through 66 in your textbook. If you haven't attended class, please do the exercises starting from page 58 to 66. If you have attended class, please finish any exercises that you did not complete in class. And if you're a current Palmore student, please choose 10 new words and phrases from chapter 5 and type or write 10 sentences using the vocabulary. You can email it to Palmore or hand it to your instructor, who will check it and give you feedback on your sentences. And finally, you can also do the optional online activities through the Password for online workbooks. I think that's about it for this lesson. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Until next time, thank you very much.